Great. So again, thank you for being here. This is the Arise Application Partner Grant Process Information Session. And so just want to share again, I'm with Act for Alexandria. We're the community foundation here in the city, and it is a great honor to partner with the City of Alexandria's Department of Community and Human Services on Arise, which is Alexandria's Recurring Income for Success and Equity Guaranteed Income Pilot Program. So we have a long history of collaborating with the city government. Think back into 2020, we awarded almost $6 million in grant funding through the CARES Act to help support the Alexandria Resilience Fund, the ALX Cares Grocery Gift Card Program, another $2+ million with the Community Access and Emergency Support Program. Some of you are grantees of that, and that's being funded through the American Rescue Plan Act. So like other ARPA programs, this Arise Application Partner Program is being supported by the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, award number 21.027, awarded to the City of Alexandria by the U.S. Department of Treasury. And so today we are going to talk about, so if you go to the next slide, Leanne. Oh, no, you're perfect right here. We are going to talk about Arise. We're going to give you an overview of the pilot program. We're going to share about an opportunity to apply to be an application partner. We'll discuss the grant process and the timeline, as well as have time for Q&A, and then other ways that you can support Arise outside of this grant process. So I'm going to now turn it over to Julie, who is our Economic Mobility Program Officer for the city, who oversees Arise. And yeah, if you can run the slides, Leanne, that would be great.
Great. Thank you again all for being here, and so nice to see some of you that I already had met, and nice to meet you who I haven't met. So just starting from the ground floor, if you're not familiar with guaranteed income, it is a long held idea that has really surged in popularity lately. A lot of cities and localities around the country are taking this on. It's a way to really flip the benefits world on its head. Instead of prescriptively asking families to spend, this much on Medicaid and this much for childcare and this much on your rent and this much on housing, guaranteed income just gives a cash value to people every month and allows them the agency to make decisions for themselves. They're really, for the City of Alexandria, we know the startling data around, about 38% of Alexandrians aren't able to make ends meet every month. We know that those people are disproportionately people of color. And so the City of Alexandria has passed this budget, $3 million through ARPA, to fund a really bold initiative around guaranteed income. So the idea is that 170 participants will receive $500 a month for 24 months. As I mentioned, staying true to the concept of guaranteed income, there will be no strings attached to the money, no mandatory case management, no work requirement, and no citizenship requirement. The eligibility for our pilot is that you have to live in the City of Alexandria, so it must be a resident. You can live in any of the zip codes. You have to be 18 years or older and have a household income at or below 50% AMI. I think on our next slide, Leanne, if you wouldn't mind forwarding, we do have a quick snapshot of what 50% AMI looks like. This chart isn't great in PowerPoint, but to give you a sense, first you look at household size, which is defined as people who live together and share meals. And then we have it broken down as annual income and monthly income. So that just sort of gives you a sense on where 50% AMI is when you're thinking about the clients and communities that you work with. So Leanne, if you wouldn't mind going back to the last slide. So there is, as you know, for many of you who work with individuals receiving current benefits, there is some impact on their current benefits. We have partnered with the Federal Reserve of Atlanta to to have an MOU to use their benefits cliff tool. So they have built this tool out to represent the city of Alexandria, the state rules of Virginia, and our local sort of, cost of living, et cetera. And what it allows us to do is sit down with a potential participant and enter in, current benefits, current household makeup, and then add that $500 cash every month. And then the tool allows us to see exactly how their benefits will be impacted. And this allows people to make an informed decision for themselves. Is it a net benefit for them to participate in Arise, or is it not? Right now, it's looking like the biggest impact will be on SNAP benefits. Even so, as we've done some test cases using the Cliff Benefit tool, it's not looking like a huge impact just because the $500 a month, it's not monumental. It's certainly a chunk of change, but it's looking like for the majority of families, the $500 a month would still be a net positive on their financial situation. The team, Lisa and others preceding me, worked really hard to secure some benefit waivers. And so we are going to be able to make sure that participants are not impacted for some of the benefits. I won't get into all the nitty gritty right now, but I'll just leave it at that for now. Okay, Leanne, you can skip the AMI. Actually, let me just stop there for a second. Does anybody have any questions about sort of the basic design, the idea of guaranteed income, anything I've talked about so far?
Julie, did you look at the tax implications for applicants?
Yes, there should not be any tax implications. What it looks like is this will be recognized as a cash gift. And so they should not have to pay taxes on it. During our onboarding, we will be providing information to participants about how to claim this money on their taxes. And of course, we do have to disclose that, going forward, the IRS, who knows how they could look at it. But for now, it should not have any tax implications. Sherry.
Yes, I thought when I was reading it very quickly that the supplemental security income would be counted as income, but then I thought I read that it wouldn't be counted as income. So I'm a little bit confused about that, and I don't know if you're covering that later.
Yeah, actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was just revising our FAQs yesterday and I noticed we say it both ways. So you're a detailed reader and thank you for catching that. So it's looking like, and again, I sort of have to go back and check. Once I realized that we had that discrepancy yesterday, I did some research. Lisa, do you want to jump in here? I see you went off mute.
Sure. When it comes to Social Security, the SSI, it does impact. It will be counted as income. Social Security right now does not have a waiver for any sorts of cash payment like guaranteed income.
Even though the cash benefits that they got, whatever that all citizens got did not count, this one will?
Yes, that was very specific to that disbursement from the federal government, but for this, yes, it counts. We we met with them and had a long conversation and really, asked them to look at their policies related to COVID, and new guidance that they're getting from the federal government related to programs like this or cash payments, and they just could not see anywhere in their manuals that they can allow this to grant us a waiver. And there are no programs in the country that has a Social Security waiver, except for one, and it's really based on they're receiving, I should say, it's a partnership with Social Security for them to be able to get research information to inform their policies.
Yeah, and the reason I brought up the benefits is just to say that we encourage everybody to apply and they will have an opportunity to really sit down and one-on-one understand how it's going to impact their financial situation for their specific household. So, you know, I think I'll double check the tool, but I believe we'll be able to see how it might impact somebody's SSI. So, you know, if there's any question at all, people should just go ahead and apply. And if they're chosen, they do not have to participate. You know, they will still have an opportunity to say, this doesn't look like it's going to be a net benefit for me. So I am choosing not to participate.
And that'll be good from a research perspective, because if people that are receiving that income are afraid to get even $500, then that's great data for us to say, look, this is such a small amount, and it's keeping people from being able to get out of poverty. So thank you.
Right. Thank you. Sassy, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, in regards to your the income guidelines that you provided, does this also include people that are renting rooms that just have roommates, but not necessarily like have combined, you know, income, or like just be passing through and don't even like see their roommates, because
Right.
it's the people in the home?
So that is why I think they say and share meals, because it's really, household is meant to capture like the people that you share income, share meals, share bills. So if you're renting a room, then most likely you'd be a household of one. Or if you and your partner, or you and your partner and your child are living in a larger house, you'd probably be, you know, a family unit within that larger context. Any other questions about the basic design or concepts to this point? Okay, great. So Leanne, if you wouldn't mind going back to the slides, I'll talk a little bit about our research and evaluation. So as you all might have heard, the city is participating in a randomized control trial evaluation. This evaluation allows the city to really understand the impact of $500 a month on family wellness. Specifically, the research questions that the city is looking at is around mental and physical well-being, labor market participation, child outcomes, food and housing stability, as well as the sense of hope and mattering in the community. For people who aren't familiar, a randomized control trial evaluation allows the researchers to take a pool of individuals who share the same characteristics. In this case, they're all City of Alexandria residents, they're all 18 years and older, and they all are living at or below 50% AMI. And they will randomly select 170 people to participate by receiving the $500 cash each month. And they will also choose 210 people to act as the control group. Those two groups will take qualitative and quantitative, actually, let me rephrase that. They'll take quantitative surveys throughout so that we can understand, you know, in comparison to this group that's not getting the cash, how is the participant group getting the cash? How are their lives being impacted in those domains that I mentioned? So in this case, the control group, they will get compensated for their participation in the study. However, we cannot provide any other sort of supports or incentives because it would impact, you know, how they feel about the world, how they feel about their situation, and that could impact the study in general. So again, the control group, you know, we are a part of a national group that's taking on guaranteed income. So we're learning from our peers and really how to be supportive of the control group and honoring of them. And we will have research fellows that are hired from the community that are sort of keeping up with the control group and the participants. However, we will not be providing, you know, really wraparound supports for that group. They are eligible to take advantage of all the community and city resources that exist for any other city resident. But again, there won't be any specific support as a member of the control group. So I wanted to spend a minute to talk about the online application, because that is the part that we're really hoping that our community will sort of, you know, come together and support residents in applying for. The application is online, as I just mentioned, and part of that is because it is a research study. The application includes a short eligibility section, a consent section, so they know that their data is being used as a part of a study. And then the majority of the online application will be this survey. And the survey is sort of the baseline data for the larger evaluation. Right now, it's looking like that survey will take about 30 to 45 minutes to complete. The application will be available in English, Spanish, Amharic, and Arabic. Because it is actually, Brandy asked me to talk a little bit about what some of the questions might look like. And just to give you a sense, it is what you might think of when you think of a survey. There are some pretty simple, straightforward questions. Like, for example, in the last 2 months, have you been charged a late fee on a bill or a loan? But then there are more in-depth questions that might ask for you to respond to the following situations on a scale. For example, in the last month, how often did you feel, X? And there might be a list of scenarios, and they might have to scale it. I felt that often, or I felt that never. So this is the sort of, it's a validated scale, it's a research study. And the researchers, it's been really important to us that the survey is a basic reading level for people to feel like, they can get through it and they understand it. And because it is a validated scale, meaning some of the research topics that we're covering are the same research topics being covered in LA and hundreds of places across the country, so that we can have this larger body of data about guaranteed income. What that means is that we haven't been able to drastically change the questions to be even more basic. So that's all to say, we didn't have a lot of control over the reading level of the survey, but we have been assured that, this survey has been used hundreds of times and people are able to get through it. That said, we know that the very fact that it's online and the fact that it is, a formal survey, some people are going to have challenges getting through it. So I'll just go on to mention that IRB Institutional Review Board is several bodies of experts that have to approve any study that involves human subjects. And so our evaluation will have to get approved by the IRB. And a part of that process, anybody helping with that initial survey or any surveys thereafter does have to go through mandatory training. The mandatory training is online. It's 2 hours. It's through the University of Pennsylvania. It's really straightforward. It's a series of videos that you watch. A lot of them are just audio. It also has it in writing below. It's very simple to get through, but of course it is a time commitment of 2 hours. There are short quizzes throughout, but it's the sort of quiz where, 4 questions, very straightforward. If you don't get it right, you can take it again. It's the exact same 4 questions. So again, actually getting through the training is very manageable. It's just about setting aside the time to do so. And the training really, again, goes over sort of, what it's like to participate with humans and some of the ethics around that and the role of people supporting people going through surveys. So the second training that is mandatory is a training that will be provided by our research and evaluation partner, Apt Associates. This will be a virtual training session, much like this, where they will be presenting information much more specific to ARISE, as well as, our specific application. And they'll be able to take live questions from, you all and people in attendance at that meeting. And it'll really go over sort of your role as a participant in the evaluation, supporting people. I think for us, one of our North Stars going through the design of Arise and thinking through access to the application has really been making sure that people feel a sense of trust. And we know that studies can carry some weight to them. And so we have a sense, and APT has mentioned, this is the place where we really need to come up together as a community and be able to answer questions. Why are we doing this study? Why are they asking me these questions? I thought I was signing up for, you know, a cash lottery. Why are they asking me about this? Why are they asking me about that? So these trainings really empower the people that will be wrapping around our applicants and make sure that we all have the confidence to know we have the answers to answer some of those questions and really support people in filling out that survey so we can get really strong data, so we can really understand the impact of guaranteed income, so we can hopefully scale it up in the future and make you know, great policies moving forward. So let me just stop here really quick. What questions do people have about the trainings, the evaluation, the research, anything? Yes, Asia?
So just to confirm, we have to do a training, or anyone in our team that's helping with this application has to do the training that's going to be 2 hours long.
Right.
Okay.
Yep,
And then
2
on top
hours.
of that, the other training that you mentioned, the ABT associates training, and how
Yes.
long is that going to take?
That's an hour. And what we're going to do, the APT training, you know, again, it will be a session very similar to this. If you cannot attend, we will record it. And then we'll just ask people to sign an attestation that they took it and that they're, you know, familiar and comfortable with the material covered. And again, you know, both of these trainings really just go to support the teams and the people supporting applicants so that we all have the same talking points, we all have the same understanding, and that everybody's getting the same information. Any other questions, comments, concerns, reactions?
Yeah, Julie, hey, this is Maya from Citizen Workers. I had a question, just a clarifying question. I want to make sure I heard you correctly. So the initial survey that we would be helping folks complete takes about 30 minutes. Is that what you said?
About 30, potentially 45, depending
Okay, 30
on,
to 45.
yeah.
Got it.
And that survey, that will be in the form of the application. So that is the application that people will fill out to be in the
Enter
application.
into the lottery, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. We can keep moving and, yeah, Brandy.
Julie, did we want to go like our quick poll question?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so we have a quick poll question, just based on what you've just heard. The question is, what is the biggest barrier that would prevent people from applying for the Arise program? So your options are concern about how the program will affect their benefits, the lack of awareness about the program, people being skeptical about the legitimacy of the program, or just uncertain about their eligibility for the program. There could be others. So if none of the choices fit with what you think might be some of the barriers, feel free to put that in the chat. And then I'll give you another maybe minute to select your response.
While we're responding, this is Sherry. I have another question.
Sure.
So there'll be people in a pool to be in the control, people in a pool to do the, to actually get the benefit. What about people, I mean, let's just say there's 600 people that apply. So if they don't get selected, is there anything, is there like a consolation prize that they spent 45 minutes of their lives in this and they did not get anything?
I wish, but no, unfortunately, I think they will get a note to let them know they have not been selected. So they won't have to just wonder, I never heard, I wonder what happened with that. They will also have resources available in terms of a, community resource sheet. If you're experiencing, if you have unmet needs, here are some resources for you. So, we're sort of just trying to make people feel valued. We want people to apply. We don't we wish we could do more, but at the same time, I think it's like, you spent $10 on that lottery ticket and you don't get it back if you didn't win. So I think people do need to know that, we've been using the term lottery because we do want people to know that you don't fill out this application and get the money. You fill out this application for an opportunity to be chosen, but there will, at the end of the day, be 170 people chosen. So the odds, depending on the application pool, might not be great. So that is part of what we're hoping people sort of understand going into it.
And it's totally randomized. You're not taking different categories of people and weighting them.
No.
Okay, I'm going to share the results really quickly. So thank you all for participating. It looks like the biggest barriers could be just concern about how the program will affect benefits. And then I also saw that Jim added a comment about concern about the selection process. So this is very helpful for us as we plan our communications around how to address some of these things. And okay, Julie, I'll turn it back to you with the slides as well, Leanne.
Actually, before we do that, Jim, can you say a little bit more about your concern in terms of the selection process, just so that we understand and can provide the information that would be helpful to community members?
When we engage community partners, the expectation is that they are competitive for the process. What would be the process of selecting the 170 families? Is there a matrix or a board, or how does that work?
So essentially what happens is the application will take place on a platform of the research company, the Apt Associates. So once the application period, we haven't finalized it, but the best practice nationally is sort of that you open it for 7 days. So people will have a fairly limited window to fill out the online application. I will mention really quick, Jim, I'm going to get to your question, but I should have mentioned the application is designed to be mobile first. So literally designed to be filled out on a smartphone. Should be really easy to navigate for people who have Wi-Fi access and comfort using a smartphone. Once that application window closes, and this is your question, Jim, Apt Associates spends a couple weeks cleaning the data, so trying to dedupe, making sure that anybody that's not eligible, whether they're not 18, they don't live in the city, making sure that they take out anybody that isn't actually eligible. And then they literally randomly select.
Also, it's random selection. Okay.
Yeah, just randomly select from the application pool for both the participants and the control group. The one thing I do want to mention is that it's totally confidential because they are part of this study. We at the city will know who the participants are, but we will not be sharing the information publicly. So even though, you all have helped people apply, we won't be able to say, oh, Jim, great news, so-and-so was selected. So, we're asking you all to put in a lot of sweat equity to sort of make sure people feel like this is accessible to them and they're able to successfully get through the application. But you may never know, were my people successful? How many of them? And so I just wanted to mention that.
Sorry, my bigger concern though is the algorithm that says our population looks like this percentage, that percentage, and to make sure that we have a fair percentage of representing the entire community.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that we are concerned about too, just in terms of we've done a lot of work looking at the demographics of the 50% AMI population. How many of them are parents? How many of them are single parents? How many of them are different races? And our goal is to hopefully have a representative sample. So, we don't want it to be just all one demographic from one part of the city. That to us would, even if we had enough people that applied, that would not, that I hate to say it would be failure, but we really want it to be a representative sample as well. And that's where a lot of our efforts are at this point.
You want it to be representative, but you're saying it's going to be random from all the people that signed in. So if everybody from one neighborhood who happened to be a certain color applied, let's just say 2/3 applied, by randomness, 2/3 would be from that neighborhood and of a certain color.
Right. So if we don't have like well represented, everybody that lives 50% within AMI, if we only have one community in a apply, then yeah, our sample will be skewed. What we're hoping for is, theoretically, if we get a really broad sample of people applying and it's randomly selective, theoretically it should be representative, but it will not be representative if the word only gets out in one small community and only those people apply, et cetera. So it kind of goes to that trust issue. We know different communities have, different concerns about things like this, whether it feels gimmicky, it feels like they're, getting taken advantage of, it feels too good to be true. I don't know how it's going to impact my benefits. I didn't hear about it. We're trying to understand exactly how different communities might be, where their concerns might be, and try to get ahead of them. I will say too that at the city, we recognize that people in our community have trusted partners, and they're often you all in the nonprofit community. And that's one of the reasons we see this as so important. We know people are going to go to you all as their trusted partner and say, what is this? Is this real? Should I apply? So, really making sure that we're partnering with the faith-based and nonprofit communities, the school systems, the libraries, the rec centers, everywhere that people are already going for community resources and information that they know and trust. That's where we're trying to partner so that people can ask the people they know, and the people they know have the answers. So I think we can probably keep moving. I have one more slide just about, again, our goals, and I've kind of spoken to this. Leanne, if you wouldn't mind moving to the next slide. So again, this, speaks to the conversation we were just having, but our goal is really equitable access to the application and making sure that communities trust this program, the process, the application, and that they have the support they need to be successful in filling out an application. At the city, we are establishing public sites where people can go to fill it out. Largely, we're partnering with the libraries and the rec centers, and then a couple additional places that, we will have volunteers and people trained to support people going through the application. But again, we also know that the nonprofit community is a really huge partner, and that's why we're created this sub-award process. We're looking to, ACT is really looking to sub-award this to 3 organizations up to 15,000. And again, our target population is everybody, city residents living at or below 50% AMI. And we also know that there are concentrated segments of poverty in our community. HUD actually outlines them as qualified census tracts. Hold on one second, I have the zip codes of those concentrated areas of poverty are 22312, 22311, 22304, and 22305, and we can send this out. So those are, we really want to make sure, again, that's where we know people are living that would qualify for this process, as well as across the city, but particularly in those areas of concentrated poverty. So we really want to make sure that those areas are saturated with support. People who we know have a lack of access to technology, or even the language and technology literacy levels might be low, as well as people who might have other barriers to complete the application. And again, we know you all know what those barriers would be, and could probably help educate us on what some of those other barriers would be. So that's what we're really looking for in an application partner.
Great. Okay, thanks, Julie. All right, so I know that most of you have applied for a grant from ACT in the past. So this process should be pretty familiar. Just as an FYI, Leanne, you can run to the next slide. We use Foundant as our grants management system. And so in order to access the application, which is now live, you're going to either need to create an account or log into your account. So in the interest of time, I'm going to say we're going to skip through these slides. If you have specific questions about how to create an account, you can reach out to one of us on the ACT team after the call, but I believe most of you have already done it. So we'll go ahead and stick to this slide right here. Thanks, Leanne. Just to talk about the application questions, to kind of give you an overview of what's going to be asked. So you'll provide kind of an overview of your organization. You will share your organization's budget. You'll also create a budget narrative for the project. So for the work to carry out this application partner process, that will include your staffing, any materials, admin costs. Just note that you cannot charge more than 10% of the grant award for indirect costs associated with administering this project. So just keep in mind that doesn't include the staffing costs to carry out the work. That's a separate thing for your budget. It's just those other indirect costs. And I'm glad we have Debbie on the call, who's really good at helping to answer any questions on that. But next you'll be asked about your project strategy. We really want to know, how are you going to reach the target populations and support individuals to successfully submit this online ARISE application? You're going to be asked to share kind of the details of the work that you're going to be doing. So there's like different time periods, right? You've got prior to the application week, you have during the application week. This is where you're going to share what is the schedule that you're going to have, the hours that you anticipate, locations, kind of your work plan, etc. We really want to know kind of about your past experience carrying out this type of work, thinking about mass intake or large groups of intake and coordination, and then also what channels you're going to be using to get the word out, just for outreach and engagement. We also will ask the number of applicants that you anticipate helping to complete the application, so we have a better idea of kind of numbers. And then we also ask if there are any challenges or ways that ACT of the city can help support you in your efforts. So thank you, Heather, for sharing those links for where to find the application as well as the sample questions. So if we can go to the next slide, just some of the grantee requirements. Because this program is being funded by ARPA, there are some specific requirements that you'll have. This work will be done in what's considered the fourth quarter. So you'll be asked to complete a quarterly report, which will be due in early January. So your work will be done in probably October, November. And then after that is over, you will submit a report back to us, just reporting on the efforts that you had. We also are going to be having different trainings. So Julie mentioned those. We plan to host a kickoff and a wrap-up grantee meeting. So for those who have been part of some of the gatherings that we've had before, it's just a chance to listen and learn and make sure that grantees are connected. So you are also just having a chance to network with one another. You will be required to respond to a subrecipient monitoring form checklist, take a fraud prevention and IT security training session. This will be taken by whoever is overseeing the project, as well as the fiscal officer responsible for managing the funds. And this needs to be done prior to receiving your grant funds. You will also need to pass, your organization will need to pass a debarment check that's done through the city. I know many of you have received ARPA funds, and so you may not have to complete all of these steps again, but you may just have to do an attestation that you have already done these things. But if you do have a different project manager for this ARISE program, say than for your community access or emergency support grant, if you received one of those, then that person will need to complete the online trainings. For most organizations, I imagine that your fiscal officer would be the same, so that person wouldn't have to redo that. But if you have questions about that, definitely reach out to us and we can help. I'm going to go through just the timeline next, just so you have an overview of what the timing looks like. The applications opened yesterday. They are available on the ACT website, a link, as well as the link that Heather dropped in the chat. Obviously, today is our information session. The applications will be due on September 16th. And then we will review those by September 22nd and let you know by September 26th. About the grant decisions. You will also receive a grant agreement. Many of you have all, again, received or grant awards from ACT in the past. So you know that this will be just outlining the duties and the responsibilities and requirements. You will have 2 weeks in order to return that grant agreement. Of course, you can turn it back sooner than that. The sooner you return those in, the sooner we can get your grant awards processed. We do have training dates that will be shared. We hope to share those in early September so that you can get those on your calendar. But most likely late September, early October is when those trainings will be done. Any questions? I'll pause right there.
Brandy, I have a question.
Yes.
So in terms of a staff member carrying out this work, it looks like it'll be, and you mentioned October, November, is that kind of what we're thinking, 2 months of work?
Yes, so there will be that 1 week period of the application period. So that we envision would probably be the most intensive week, but we know that you're going to need to be doing that pre-work, right? Into helping to get the word out about the program. We will have materials that we can share, but it's kind of helping to prime the outreach and engagement so that during the week of the TBD in October, you'll be able to efficiently and effectively reach as many people as possible.
Got it. And
Brandy?
is there,
Oh, good.
I'm sorry, one other question. Is there a goal that you have for each organization? Is there like some sort of goal that we're trying to meet that you expect us to meet in terms of numbers of applications completed?
That's a good question. No, in a sense that I don't think we have a specific number, but knowing that you all have these trusted relationships with individuals in your community, and we want to make sure that the word gets out to everyone across the city who would be qualified for the program. We know 170 people will be selected. We will need another 210 to participate in the randomized control trial. So hoping to get hundreds of individuals applying. Thanks, Maya.
Thank
I heard somebody else.
Yeah, that was me. Can you weigh in if organizations want to partner, how they might do that?
Yeah, sure. That would be great. I mean, we always encourage collaboration. So if an organization would like to partner with another, I would say if you want to submit a joint application or maybe talk to us, I'm happy to answer questions about what might be the easiest way for you all to submit an application for review. Sherry.
Yes, I was just wondering, what are some examples of the post-week activities that we would be doing? So you have, I understand preparation, I understand week of, what are, and I understand a final report, but what would we be doing that the week after we accept application or help with applications?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Julie or Lisa, is there?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to come off mute. So essentially, it will largely be assuring people that they have applied, that, the application period is over, that they should check with the city website. There's going to be this interesting process where we there's the data cleaning, then we'll start notifying people. We'll be going through that benefits counseling. So people will be saying yes and no. So once people say, you know what, I'm really worried about my benefits, I'm actually not going to participate, we'll be notifying more people. So what it looks like is sort of a rolling notification process. And so essentially, there is going to be several weeks where nobody is hearing, well, first during the data cleaning, nobody's going to be hearing anything, and we'll be very clear in our communications, and we'll get those clear timelines out to you all so you can participate. in sharing that information. And then once we start notifying, it's not going to be like, you'll hear on this date. It's going to be like, you might hear over the next 3 or 4 weeks. And until we say for sure that you haven't been chosen, you still might be chosen. So it's going to be, you know, a process of just calming people, letting them know, you know, you're not hearing yet, you still might be chosen, check back at the city website, but also letting people know that you will not be able to tell them. It will be the city that will be telling them. So answer all random calls, you know, and we'll be calling, texting, and emailing people, but we know that people don't tend to respond to, you know, random phone calls that numbers they don't recognize, etc. So just assuring them, please pick up your phone if you get a call during this time period. And so you don't have an official role other than we know that people who have applied, particularly with your support, will probably be asking you, what's going on? Have I been chosen, etc.
Are we collecting information from the people we support? So I know that I did, like, I know I would count the number of people I supported, but would I have my own list? Because that seems like we shouldn't have any personal information.
Right.
Correct?
The application will be through a portal, like you'll click on a link and it'll all be in that secure portal. So you won't have any paper applications, it's all online through that portal. But yes, I think, you know, you do want to keep, and again, you know, this is probably a question for Brandy and Debbie, but we will want to know, like, how many people did you, you know, support in the application process somehow, but we don't need names, I would imagine. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn. Okay.
So when you give information through your portal to people, will it say, because people don't answer their phone and they don't respond to text like you've won $500? I mean, you know, like we're not supposed to respond to those. So will you give people clear information about whether, you know, like when you try to reach them, or if you're trying to get your 170, if they don't return the text or call or whatever, then you're just going to move on to the next one? Or how does that all work?
Yeah, essentially we'll be, you know, as clear as we can, clearly identifying ourselves. They do say in the application what their primary language is, so we'll be calling them in their primary language. You know, we will identify ourselves as being with the city of Alexandria, calling on behalf of their ARISE guaranteed income application. You know, we will be as clear as we can. You know, best practice is that you give people 2 weeks to respond, and then you do have to move on, unfortunately, because we do have to keep our timeline moving. So there is, you know, there is a possibility that they will get a call, an email, and text that they do not respond to, and you know, we'll have to move on and pick somebody else. But again, we will let you all, as our supporting partners, know we're notifying this during these weeks. Please tell people to, you know, pick up their phone, answer texts, you know, and at that point we can probably let you know what numbers we'll be calling from, etc. So you could even tell them, look for emails, calls, you know, from this email address, from this phone number, etc. I know we're almost at time. I see Maya and Stephanie both have questions. Brandy, I'll let you facilitate.
Yeah, if people are able to stay for a few more minutes, we can continue these questions. I know we do have one more slide as well. So go ahead, Stephanie.
Hi, just a quick question. I was interested in Maya's question about, you know, expected number of applications. I know you don't have an answer for that, but for example, if we are selected as an application partner, would the expectation be that we would serve sort of the community at large, or would we focus on, for example, you know, I work for AHC, so we have 3 affordable housing apartment complexes that have about 284 households. Would the expectation be that we serve those folks, or in addition to those residents, you know, the community at large?
That's a great question. So we would like to have referral partners or application partners be able to take referrals from other groups as well. So once you know what your schedule is going to be, we would also love to be able to communicate that out along with the rec centers and the library so that people know at different points across the city, they're able to receive assistance completing the application. Okay, Maya.
I'm sorry, I know you talked about this, but did you say that the 1 week of accepting applications is going to be in October?
Yes, we don't have the specific week yet. We are finalizing that and hope to have that for you in early September. But I believe we're looking at a window, Julie, is this correct, of October 20th through November 14th?
Yes.
Okay, so it could be in November. Because I'm just thinking like promotion, education, getting out there, even after the training. If it's in October, that doesn't leave a whole lot of time if the training's in October. But of course, you guys got to do what you got to do. We'll make it work, you know. But
yeah, thank you. It's a quick
Yeah.
turnaround for sure, and appreciate the flexibility of partners, knowing that we will keep you posted and communicate with you and tell you as soon as we know some of these details.
Yeah, and I'll just clarify that the trainings is for the application week, but you can start communicating to the population before that.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Is the goal to have the money in their hands before Christmas or beyond that?
It'll be the first of the year. It'll
The first
be
of the
after,
year.
yeah.
And secondly, for the nonprofits, this is pretty labor intensive over a 2-month period. If we're not selected, how can we support their effort?
That is a great question, Jim. That is our last slide. So Leanne, I'm going to have you share that, and Julie will talk about the other ways that you can support Arise.
Yeah, so we really hope you guys will help us spread the word regardless. We are with a philanthropic partner, Vanguard, putting together a communication toolkit. And so they're sort of putting together all these different tools, from postcards to posters to flyers to tweets to email communications, that will be available on our website, and we'll let you all know when that toolkit is available. We'll also provide a training on that toolkit. So please help us get the word out. We know that people will be turning to you and saying, hey, I got this flyer, what do you know? So again, just making sure that your staff is aware and able to answer questions. We can send out some FAQs. We'll send out as much information as you're interested in seeing, so that you feel like your staff has the information they need to answer questions. To the extent that you might just want to fold this into, how you do business over the next month. Hey, I wanted to give you this flyer as we're meeting, and during the application week, if you want to fill this out during your case management meeting, we're happy to help. To the extent that you can just sort of fold it into how you're doing business, we really appreciate it. We will be having a posting on Volunteer Alexandria. I believe it's live now, but please wait to sign up. We need a couple more days to get our process under control. But if you do want to volunteer, just as a person interested in this, we do have both outreach opportunities to go hang flyers, etc., as well as to go and support, maybe at a public library or a rec center, to sign up for a shift to help people there. And then, you can, of course, refer people to our sites. And we will have a lot more information about where those sites are. So if somebody comes to you, you can say, yeah, it's not a fraud, it's a real thing. Here's where you can go for help. What questions do you have? Just really making sure that your clients have the information they need to fill out the application.
Okay, I want to get close to wrapping up. So Sherry, last question.
You are having it in English, Spanish, Arabic, and Amharic. Are you interested in folks who speak the other 100 languages in Alexandria?
We will be able to use the language line, and that's, that is part of the support. If you are in touch with those populations and they're going to need support outside of those languages, definitely include that in your application.
Would we use Alexandria's language line, or would we put money in the budget for us to use a separate language line?
I think do the best you can with, your approach, and it will be a competitive grant process. So the more, that is why we're giving the 15,000. So we'd probably hope that you could include that in the amount that you're being subawarded, but if that's not possible, you know, do the best you can with your application.
Okay, well, thank you all so much. I'm so sorry that we ran over a few minutes, but I know there was a lot of really good information that we needed to share, and you had wonderful questions. So if you have questions about Found It and how to use the grant management system to fill out your application, please contact Leanne. Her information is here. If you have questions about the grant process, you can reach me. And then also, if you just need general information about this application process, you can look at the ACT website, which has it, as well as the city has information about Arise on their website as well. And I saw that Julie just put her email in the chat. Thank you again for being here. We'll send out the recording just in case you missed anything, and just really grateful for your interest in this program and learning about ways to get involved. So thank you all so much. Have a great day.